We had the tools, we had the talent.
Okay, so here we are in the pandemic, each in our little hideaways here for Tool Time and Nuke. We have our special guest, Adrian Pueyo, and he is coming to us from the Canary Islands.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty new thing that we are doing. We are not supposed to talk too much about it so far, but in general, it's like just a new company where we are doing like real-time stuff and like a mixture of different techniques and programs and stuff. So it's a really cool experience. And so we are working between the Canary Islands and Madrid and Barcelona. So we'll be like somewhere around Spain, I guess.
Okay, so you told me I think you were going back and forth between Madrid and so forth.
Yeah, I'm also still directing the masters in compositing in UTA in Madrid. So that requires me to like fly there every few weeks to like teach classes. Not at the moment with the virus, so right now we're doing like everything online. But like for the rest of the year, it would probably be like just doing some VFX here and flying back to Madrid and teaching and just going back and forth.
Cool. How are the plane trips? Are they pretty empty?
I mean, since the virus started, we had to do everything online. So
you're doing okay. So you got there afterwards. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I'm like quarantined.
Right, so you've been kind of locked down. That's pretty cool. Good place to be during a pandemic. Beautiful
yeah, I mean,
Canary
you're still inside of a house, but at least the sun that comes from outside is like warm and nice. So
I guess we can get into this tool here. First off, if you're interested, check out Adrian's website. I have it linked below. It goes over all the different films he's worked on, Meg, The Mummy, and he's got an awesome reel. We did have an interview with him also, which I'll link at the bottom. Also his IMDb, and we're also going to credit Alexey Kuchinski. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Alexey Kuchinski, I think.
Kuchinski, who was also the author of the awesome Stamps. Stamps is one of the two actual plugins or gizmos we're going to talk about today for Nuke that is taking the world by storm, and it was created by both Alexey and Adrian. And you can find this at Nukepedia, or if you have their plugin, you can just search it for Stamps. It's really easy to install, and what's great about it is you don't have to have Stamps installed if you're giving it to somebody else, if I'm correct, right? Like, yeah. It's not going to air out, so to speak.
No, that was the plan, because like most times like we were just sending it to either someone else inside of the studio or outside of the studio, and even if a whole studio has it installed, it's not enough, because sometimes like comps go outside. So at least the basics like reconnect and not crash are there for people that don't have the scripts, and like the more advanced stuff like I mean advanced reconnections and all that does require the script, but I mean, if you don't have it installed, then you would not use that anyway. So, yeah.
Gotcha. And then there's a really awesome PDF that goes over the benefits, starts from sort of a layman's term workflow. If you're kind of curious what is Stamps, you can download that before you install it. So we're going to jump into Nuke really quick. And the reason why I wanted to do this whole series was so that we could start introducing. There's a lot of websites out there that are promoting, you know, tutorials, but it would be really good to get into some of the Nukepedia, you know, tools, and I'm hoping to have Tony back on as soon as he enjoys his break. Kind of like decompressing from which was you. Did you play a part in that, or did you stay out of that one? The Black Widow. Yeah. You guys finished it in the midst of the pandemic. Congratulations.
I was not there, but they were like really hardworking and did a great job. Yeah.
I can't imagine what that was like through this craziness. Yeah. But anyway, Stamps and Apchroma. Now the reason why I bring up Apchroma is because Tony and I are he's helping me with this tutorial for ACES and so forth, and we're doing part 2 of PG Bokeh, and he was showing how you guys create your chromatic aberration and your bokeh, your specifically designed bokeh, and you use your plugin Apchroma. So I figured we'd just show off that really quick, because it's a really nice plugin. And again, I'll be going over this pretty much in the next training video, which will be PG Bokeh Part 2. So can you tell us a little bit about Stamps?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Stamps is like a really basic tool. It's like on the outside, it's just a no-op node. It's not meant to do anything on the image. It's just meant to save seconds to compositing many times over the working day, I guess. It's also meant to facilitate sharing scripts with other people, because it's like making stuff more readable, and you're always sure where stuff is supposed to live. Sometimes, other times, you are just like sure that there are no hidden lines apart from where there are stamps. So that's also a way to like prevent people from making hidden lines. So if there's not a stamp, you know there will not be a hidden line. That's more or less the philosophy of doing like scripts with stamps. And yeah, it's also helping with basically like whenever you need to like have an asset many times over the script. Sometimes it's a bit boring to just like bring a group and then reconnect it again to something, and then bring again another group and reconnect it. So this way you can just like whenever you copy and paste a stamp, the black one, it will just take care of that for you. So it's just like taking that stupid part out of the compositor, I guess.
In a way, it's basically it's like referencing, so that if somebody refreshes the newest render, you're not having to go through each single render and repath it and so forth, and it avoids a lot of this kind of crap where you're connecting and trying to move it, you know, around your comp and get to another area. You're basically using one main sort of source, and it's referencing here, and the only way you see the referencing of the line is by selecting the physical stamp itself, correct?
Yeah, it's also like many times you have like, maybe if there's just like one camera that you're using many times, you can survive with seeing all the lines. But if there's like a camera, a piece of geometry, and like a plate, and you're using them again and again in the comp, like you can like create a really big mess of lines really quick. Like the thing about stamps is you're not like you don't have to use them all the time. You can just like choose to use them or not. So that's like just one more tool. And like especially for stuff that you're like reusing a part of the tree with like geometry and a camera and whatever, this just like saves like it saves you from having to expose lines that you don't find relevant. I think that's the basics.
And Tony was nice enough to send us this picture just recently, out of coincidence, of a comp he's working on, and he wanted to show all of the lines and then show, you know, the visibility of all of the connections. So it's a world of difference, and it's a much needed reality. And I think last episode you said you're spreading the stamps virus by just like basically working with other studios, and they're kind of looking at these and going, oh my gosh, this is awesome, we should use stamps, and it's just spreading across the world. So I started, you know, it's just simple tools you guys create, you and Tony create. Like I love Blackpoint, Tony's Blackpoint. I use it all the time.
Yeah,
I can't go back to using anything else for Blackpoint. And then the stamps is awesome. I'm like, man, this is really, you know, I don't get into too big comps lately, you know, as far as what you guys are dealing with, but I mean, this is just night and day, you know. So
yeah, I find it also pretty useful for myself, at least in like whenever I do a webinar or like teaching other people, just the fact that you can show a plate just with a black rectangle that says plate in big. You don't have to expose many nodes when you're just trying to explain something that is more simple. So you can like explain basic concepts of compositing with fewer nodes, I guess, because you just have like, okay, plate, camera, and something else, and then you just see that part and don't get like messed with so many nodes.
So if you don't mind, I was going to do a quick demo so everyone's not sitting around scratching their heads, because it's really best shown instead of...
Sure.
So we can start out here. Is the perfect workflow is what we're about to show, but the usual workflow is this right here, which is this is our PG Bokeh Part 2 video here. But you start with different inputs and so forth, or read nodes. In this case, we got like a my nephew here on the plate shot, and then over here we have the CG you know, drone and so forth, and this is going to be updated and changed many times by different people. And then I got, you know, different images here like a sample bokeh and so forth. And down here I'm sampling the original file here with my nephew for grain for a regrain tool. So instead of having, in this very simplistic example, instead of having one here, two of the same nodes here, that if something gets refreshed or a CG render gets refreshed, we have to come over here and swap them out, is you can instead reference it. So in that case, we have just one big strip up here where it's easy to find every single incoming read node or asset, and if there's any issues, you can just refresh it or repath it up here, as opposed to going through and searching around for it. So if we were to replace this, I think you just go over here, you take the plate shot, and I'll type stamps.
Or you can just like press F8 actually.
F8's another one. Yeah, I noticed that. So you can just do F8.
But yeah, the thing about F8 is that it's contextual. So it does different things based on what is or is not selected. So if you select something, then it creates a stamp. If you don't select anything, it just looks for stamps. So it's like, whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah, so there's a big difference here, gang. So make sure you got it selected. Hit F8, and obviously, but if not, you hit this F8, it's going to be asking for something. So we'll get into that in a minute. But so I just take this, hit F8. It says title. This is 25 milliliter black magic, and I think it I guess it just assumed it just took that and didn't use any frame numbers. And now, what's with the tags? I wasn't sure what the tags were. Is that a way to search things, or?
Yeah. So then when you press F8 without selecting anything, you can find all the stamps that you have in your comp, sorted by their tags and by other stuff. But tags are like a useful one, I think. By default, if you just leave 2D, that's, I think, useful. If you want to put something else, you can do like comma and just write something else.
So is a comma space in like 3D or plate? Yeah. So we can do comma plate like that?
Yeah.
All right, so I hit OK. And what you basically get is a connector, right? So you have this, and if you don't touch nothing, you don't see the connection. So you could just take this, copy and paste it, and it's connected.
I'll tell you another way to do it. You can select it and press F8 now.
And press F8?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was. It does like 4 different things based on the selection.
Now these are called anchors, and these are called...
No, the white ones are anchors because they are the ones that you cannot move or delete, while you have others. And like the children are called just like stamps or wired stamps.
Gotcha. So these are the stamps. Okay.
Yeah.
So these. Okay. So then what you can do, obviously, is move this over here. You guys are probably, take that, say goodbye to this. Right, and then you got this guy over here. This is going to be what's going to regrain my footage. So I'll plug that into my grain. Say goodbye to that. And now you get, everything. If there's any refreshing, if the colors comes back with a new version, which would be a bad thing, but you can just refresh it here, and it just references in. So these each have different things. Obviously, if you grab the Blackmagic right here, you got the stamps, and you can do select stamps, and that's going to select the stamps that are connected to it. So you kind of know what it's spreading out to. But again, if you select nothing, you're not going to get all these annoying lines. And again, this avoids you drawing lines out if you want to take one source and you got this maze of lines crisscrossing, throughout your entire scene. And then can you just demonstrate the tags? Like, how would you search for the tags? Go ahead.
Okay, just can you go to the second black one you added, like in the grain part?
Oh, one of these?
Yeah, that one's fine. You can just delete it now.
All right.
Just kill that one. Yep, and you can just disconnect that too, actually. Yeah, so now you can press, just go to the part where you want to create it. Yeah, and there you can press now F8.
All right. The hotkey here is F8, folks.
Yeah, so that will bring up the selector. So there's 2 main ways to select your stamps. One is by tags and one is by backdrops. So right now, if you remember, it has 2 tags. So you will find that under 2D and under plate. So both tags will be able to find your stamp. Also, below the tags, you can see the backdrops, like the label of backdrops, like the long one just above, that long string. So that's the label of the backdrop where the anchor lives. So if you take it out of the backdrop, it would disappear from there like instantly. So that's like another way to make it. That's mainly meant for the cases where you have like a backdrop that is called plates, one that is called like camera, assets, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So then just by creating a stamp inside of the plates backdrop, you will find it there in plates.
So if I hit OK here,
that will just bring that one.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I mean there's like a few options, and then the other methods to select them, the ones in the bottom, like all just shows all of the stamps. There's just one right now, I guess. Well, and your example one. And the popular is just counting. It's sorting them based on the number of children they have. So if you're using like the camera all over the script, then in popular the camera will be on top. So that's like just different ways to bring the same stuff.
Gotcha.
And then in by title, you can just like write the title of a stamp, or just start writing it, and it will like suggest the rest, and just click OK whenever you want, and it will bring it to, or just enter actually. Yeah.
Cool.
So there's like 5 different ways to bring them, and it depends on your workflow, I guess.
So again, in being a tech genius, you've went ahead and put in some fail safes for reconnecting. So I think those are, if I'm not, here's the reconnect, this, similar, or all. So can you kind of explain that in case things get disconnected? Some crazy man gets into your comp and starts disconnecting things.
Okay, so the first thing that is like worth noting is that normally for Nuke nodes, the name that the node shows on the node graph is the name of the node, right? Mm-hmm. In Stamps, this is an exception because I wanted to show the exact same title in different nodes, right? So if you see like the node you have selected, it's called stamp 3 actually, but it's showing a different thing, right? So what it's showing is the title, and it's the same thing that the anchor is showing. But the anchor has a real name too, and the real name of the anchor is like a really long hash so that it never gets lost. I know it's technical, but it's like worth understanding that, I think. Mm-hmm. So if you open the stamp now, the black one, and you go to advanced, just there, you can see that it's storing the name of its anchor. So that's the way that it knows where it should get connected to. Because
and you can also override that. So if you had another one, you can grab it. Just if you're going crazy, you can grab it and say connect to this one. Selected.
Yeah. Actually, there's something cool. I think if you can like copy paste the anchor now, the white node.
All right.
So as you see now, they both have the same title, but the wired stamp, the black one, they have the same title but not the same name, obviously. So the black one knows where it should get connected to still. Just click on reconnect this.
So by title this?
No, just by the normal one. Like So that will. So what that does is connect to the anchor that is named the same way that it has stored the long hash. So that's the normal reconnection.
So you ensure no problems by having a name within a name, like a specific name for the stamp itself or the anchor itself, versus the physical name of what it is. Or
I mean the title can just be like camera, and you can have like the camera from your shot and the camera from another shot, and just like bring it to your script, and then Stamps would just not know where to connect. So there's that extra layer of security, I guess, which is the long name that is inside. So think of the name as an ID number or something like that, and the title is only the name that you want to show on the node graph, just for the user, I guess.
So if I keep going down the line here, here's this, and this is not pre-multiplied or whatever. So I just come in here, grab this, do another F8, and it's under drone or something. I could also do CG or something, hit OK. Now I have the drone, and now I can take this and replace it over here with this footage. And then I have my pre-multed drone, from which you guys can see the connections if I select the actual stamps themselves. And then, of course, if you want to do something insane, like take this guy right here, you disconnect them, and then you can also override the connection by what you have selected. So if I have this double clicked and visible in my properties bin, but then I have this one selected, I could say advanced type, connect by this selected. So now if we take a look at it, it's connect to this one.
And it also overrides the anchor name that it's inside. So now it's like it just got converted into the other guy. Yes.
Now, personal question here. Do you find people like copy pasting, pulling things out of comps, and you're like, oh, I got to connect, and was that the reason for these like double fail safes you got built here? Or?
Yeah. Actually, I can show you pretty quick. I think a common use case.
Okay.
Could you create a camera, just a regular camera? Yeah, and now you can just create a stamp for it. Just F8 and enter. Cool. So by default, it's named cam. Now, if you open a new script, just yeah. So this new script will be the comp of a friend or whatever. So a friend is just working on a different shot of the sequence. That shot would probably also have a camera. And usually, in your studio, the convention could be that the main camera is just cam in the stamps. You can just make a new one, I guess, a new camera. And just make a stamp too for that one.
And just name it the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So right now we have a whatever. I mean, you can put a scanline render, I guess, and that'll make it easier to know what it's doing. And just connect just that. And now if you let's say this is part of the comp of a friend of yours, and you want to grab that little part with just the two nodes below, just the scanline render and So if you want to bring that plus any other amount of nodes to your comp, now you can just copy it and paste it in your comp. And obviously now it will not connect. You can just click outside. It failed, and the reason is that the anchor, the hash name is different because it's not the exact same anchor. So we found that this was really important because you want to make sure when you do this kind of things. So something you could do now, if you open the node you have selected right now.
This guy right here?
Yep. And you open reconnect, it will not reconnect now because it's looking for the name it has stored inside, right? So if you click, But you can open advanced, and if you reconnect by title, so what it does now, instead of looking for the anchor hash, it looks for the title. So if it finds an anchor that has the same title as then it will connect. And then
there we go. Okay.
Lay the rest. So we found that was actually quite useful. And I'll show you the third step of this process. I think it's also kind of useful. If you could go back to the other comp again, or is it open still? Maybe we could close it. You closed it. No problem.
I close it? I don't think I closed it.
Maybe it's somewhere there.
Oh wait, let's see.
Maybe one on the right or something.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, dude. It went. How did it go away?
Yes, weird. Is it the one on the right?
Let's see if it's underneath here. No, it's gone. I must have.
No problem. Yeah, I was just going to mention something. I can show it here actually. If you go to that stamp you have just there, and you change your anchor name manually to something different, like the hash one in the bottom.
This right here?
Yeah, so we are simulating that.
So if I just call blah blah, does it have to say anchor?
Not sure. I mean, just to make sure, I would say anchor something, in case something breaks, I guess. Yeah, and just
anchor, blah 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 blah. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. So now we're.
It doesn't change actually.
Oh, it did. Oh, okay. Can you disconnect it first? Because it's smart. It thinks it's smarter than.
There we go.
Than us.
All right. So now I could just blah 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 blah.
I hope so.
There we go. Yes. Okay. There we go.
So. Okay, yeah, let's do something. So if you now enable the auto reconnect by title, the checkbox that is below that, just the checkbox in the bottom.
Oh, this one right here, auto reconnect by title.
So
Okay.
that's also like for the cases where you want to like whenever you copy paste that somewhere else, it will look for the title and not for the hash, and that's useful for making
Okay.
templates, especially.
So if we were to go another com copy, it would connect.
If you now copy those two nodes and paste them just below, hopefully they will connect. If they don't, it's because it was not connected. Yeah,
Yep,
you see?
they did.
So what you did was when you enable that, then whenever you paste it again, it connects by title and not by hash, and that's useful for templates and for tools.
Gotcha.
Like for example, in Trickster we had the grain setup. Like we had like dash grain and camera and plate, and they were saved as a template. And camera and plate stamps, they had the auto reconnect by title on. So anywhere you created or you brought that template, the stamps would look for the title and not by the hash, because maybe the hash is different. But the title is always the same. Like camera is cam and plate is plate 1 or whatever. I mean, there's like too many things in a stupid no up. I know. But,
I find it's important to note this is not just plate footage. This is also for 3D assets, any assets. Doesn't matter what it is. Some people get kind of like tunnel vision and assume it's only for like plate shots and so forth. No, it's for cameras. It's for anything. So that's that was just an example of showing you guys this is the best optimized way to do it. Obviously. According to Adrian, the pros, which is this, and again, even Tony's talking about how much he loves stamps. Is there anything else you'd like to demo before we move on to the other plugin?
Just one quick thing I would like to mention, like just for normal users that never used it before, I guess the only thing you have to remember is like F8 to create it, F8 to bring the panel to bring it to other parts, and apart from that, you can just like copy paste it and forget about like the buttons and all that. Like there's no need for knowing all that. Just F8 and copy paste. And one thing that I found pretty like people that were not using this panel that you're showing right now, when I told them like try to use it, try to get used to it, then they were like, hey man, like my workflow is faster now, like because this saves you like going up and going down, and you're already used to that. So sometimes you don't think about like being able to bring them anywhere in the script. So. And
plus, because you're not reading off of multiple copies of a node, you're actually speeding up the pipeline in this process, right?
Yeah, and apart from that, I guess when you create any stamp, you can like create cam now or whatever. Just click a OK button somewhere, and now you go somewhere else and press F8.
Oh, just somewhere else? Okay.
Yeah, just click there, F8. If now you just press Enter. Just enter. It will create the last one you made.
The last one you did, okay.
So that's the main thing, I think. Oh, yeah, and something really important when you're working with stamps. One thing is like it's worth trying to get all your assets in a place where the assets live, like on the top or somewhere else. But it's like that's the best way to use it. Just like have all the assets you can in a single place, and then when another comper opens your shot, they will know like just to change that, and the rest should like update. If there's like somewhere else where you're having assets like through the script, it makes it harder when someone just replaces that and renders, and there was something else they didn't account for, I guess. Yeah, cool. I mean that's the main thing.
Again, awesome tool. Probably one of the most eye-popping tools that I've seen in a while, and I know that Tony's been saying for a long time you got to have Adrian on talking about stamps. So,
I mean, he was also a really big part of the feedback into development and like ideas and stuff. So that was really cool.
Okay. All right. And the last one we're going to go over here is AP Chroma. Now, I did a little AP Chroma demo here. We're actually, just out of coincidence, I figured I'd show it off because we're using it. And this will be part of the free download for PG Bokeh. But this was built by Tony, and he says this is how you guys do your kernels. He was showing me like all this work, and then your AP Chroma, Chromatic Aberration gets thrown on. and then he was showing me how. Actually, I'll just kind of demo it really quick. So here's this. He does a crop, and this is from plate shot footage. And then he does a little bit of grade, and then your AP Chroma throws on a little chromatic aberration. And then there's this reformatting to 128 to avoid 10,000 years of rendering or whatever. And then he has these two options if you want to go into anamorphic. So that's kind of cool. And then I guess there's this adjustment box black outline thing that he was talking about, which is something you need to take care of or else you're going to get some weird artifact. But as far as just a quick demo, I mean, it's not this one. It's a great thing. I wanted to ask you, where in the process of the composite do you physically take? Do you add chromatic aberration? Is it just, you know, say if you're going to put it on a CG element, like for instance, in this case, we have a drone, right? That's pre-malted. Here it is, right? And I was doing just some color correction work. I've got black match here. Actually, I'm breaking the rules here a little bit here. I did some flickering, blah, blah, blah. And then you come to motion blurs, edge blurs, defocus. And then I got some glows and grains and all that. So question is, in what part of the process would you put, if you were going to put some chromatic aberration on this guy, where would you put it?
I mean, physically, the chromatic aberration is just the lens distortion, which is like affecting different channels differently. So light is like scattering through the lens distortion. So ideally, like just right to the next to the lens distortion. So you can even use a lens distortion node and pipe it through the UV channel of an AP Chroma, and just use the AP Chroma instead of a lens distortion. And that way you can do like lens distortion, or you can choose to like add some chromatic aberration into it, so that you have like both options.
Gotcha. So you would use that as an input to the lens distortion, the AP Chroma.
I would just, yeah. I mean, if you're adding lens distortion, most times I just like plug the lens distortion into the UV channels of AP Chroma, and otherwise like just in the end before grain or whatever. And something really important is to then use a chroma merge to merge it, because like the moment the channels get like into different positions, each channel needs its own alpha. So that's also taking care of that.
Well, I was just demoing. I know this is probably not the right way to do it without lens distortion nodes or anything, but I was just kind of demoing the node itself, and that I'll go ahead and turn off mask. But this is basically, you know, the chromatic aberration is the imperfection. Sometimes it's seen mostly on the outside of the lens. Seen very heavily sometimes in anamorphic lenses too, I've noticed. But you have, it's basically chromatic aberration if I'm not correct, but you've decided to make your own. What's good about yours versus most chromatic aberration plugins and so forth?
I mean, I'd say for 95% of cases, this is like less useful, but because it's like way heavier to compute. But there's some specific cases where there's no other way to do it that I know of. And that's the cases where you really want to feel that gradient of colors, that like rainbow. You can actually see it if you go to the second tab of the gizmo. You can scroll up.
Oh, there it is, spectrum.
Yeah, so you can actually like define the spectrum of like colors, and what this tool makes is it just ramps through those colors through many iterations using like subframes and stuff. But you can just like move the red channel and you will, or the green or whatever, and you will find it moving in the. And then you can just like increase the samples and it will look better, or add motion blurring. That will look. You need to scroll up in properties, I think.
Oh yeah.
It's confusing.
How many samples do you usually render with on this on a major show? Like...
I mean, whatever works. Something you can do is if you're only using the transform settings like you are without any UV map extra or anything, you can just turn on the smooth. If you put smooth to 1.
There it is, 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you do that, the only trick it's making is so inside the AP Chroma it's just a transform, moving it many times. So the smooth is activating the motion blur of the transform, so that like fills all the holes, let's say. And then you don't need as many samples. Another way is to like just put like 50 samples and just smooth to 0. That also works, I guess.
So it's kind of like.
But 50 samples plus smooth can be really heavy. Yeah.
So smooth basically smooths out the transition,
Yeah,
and it's
smooth
sort of a cheat if
is
you want to do low samples. Is that what I'm thinking, or?
yeah. So smooth is like motion blur on a transform. So the only way
Oh,
to
okay,
disable
gotcha.
it is to put it to 0. 0.1 is like 100%.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then the other, like, not sure if you've seen that, but like you can try. Can you click on Create UV Map for a sec? And then that will make a UV map.
Right here.
Yeah. So that's a UV map, and then you can look at it. It's just like a ramp with red and green and stuff. And that's used the same way you would use an SD map. So, I mean, you can, like, below the expression, if you put transform mask, for example. Transform mask, the one that has the mask input. That's the way I use it most times, I think. Altogether, just yeah, there you go. And just you can pipe a noise to the mask of the transform. Yeah, we'll get to it. Just you can just make
a
a
noise node right after it.
Yeah, just as the mask of the transform.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like move it like up with the transform. You can move it up like a lot, like 50 or 100 or whatever. Yeah. So we're just making like a displacement, I guess. Actually, you could connect the expression to the plate so that it has the same size.
This right here?
Yeah, that just takes the format, I guess. The blue channel is not important. And now, if you look at the Apchroma.
Actually, let me put it through this pre-mol because that's this guy.
I mean, it's just overriding whatever there is. Yeah. And then if you look at the Apchroma, so that will like make chromatic aberration based on that UV map.
Gotcha.
Can you see it now? And yeah, I mean, you see that noise there. Like now, if you go to the Apchroma, sorry.
To which one?
The Apchroma now. Yeah. So you can like put the rotate and scale to default values. So then we can isolate the other stuff, like 0 and 1, I guess. Yeah. Can you just put 0 there?
Sure.
Yeah, and one in scale. Yeah. So now all we are seeing is the UV map. So now in the settings on the bottom, if you say like, for example, monochrome to 1, that will be like a let's say God rays based on the UV map. And now if you like increase the transform or whatever, like, so that's the way that we usually do, like, for example, heat distortion, and this way you can also use some chromatic aberration inside of the distortion. So it's like pretty specific for the cases where you want like distortion and chromatic aberration together. That's like I know it's like a lot of stuff for stupid chromatic aberration.
Oh, cool. And then you got overscan in case something gets on the edge.
Mm-hmm. Actually, if you turn the aberration to 0, I think that would aberration. Now it should work just as a regular SD map. And compensate to 0 too, sorry. Compensate 0. Oh. Yeah, no, just 0. I think that's -1. Yeah. I find that so hard to explain. Like, and it's a simple concept, but
0.
Yeah, so this right now is just the same as using a SD map node. But the cool thing now is you can choose to like increase slightly the aberration, and then you will introduce some aberration in the distortion. So right now it's monochrome aberration, but you could just also reduce the monochromacity, if that's a word.
Mm-hmm.
And just reduce the monochrome now, and that will introduce some colors. Yeah, I mean, that's like the control you. Yeah. So right now, if you like animate that noise, you will have like heat distortion with chromatic aberration. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, this is all like we're getting voodoo here. But yeah, I get it. I mean, it's just it's something we're gonna have to explore and just mess around with, and we might even revisit this probably. There's just
I actually have a Vimeo like tutorial about this one, where I like prepared some like actual presentations of.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, with the
so
sliders.
we'll
and
link
stuff,
that at
like,
the we'll link that at the bottom if you guys are curious. And then of course you just have the mask input. I always try to go through all inputs. Obviously, mask is mask, and then you could just, you know, turn that on, and you just got just this area here getting affected, you know. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it, man. Thanks a bunch for coming on. I'd like to have you again for your other tools. I'm trying to get into your other tools, kind of get a head knowledge of it, and then kind of have you on as opposed to be, you know, bumbling around trying to figure out what he's, you know. It's best to know what it is before you present it, right? But yeah, we're going to be using it. We'll be using your AP Chroma for kernels, creating custom kernels from plate shots and so forth. You guys can see right here, we did a frame hold, and I grabbed this little bokeh from the plate shot, and I cropped it, and I just used the same pipeline that Tony set up here. AP Chroma, probably cropped in a little bit. Probably could use some color work. Probably did crop. Yeah, it's work in progress. But yeah, that's basically it. I gotta like something happened with my crop. I don't know what happened there. But then we just plug that in, and then I'm going to be demoing that in the next lesson, which will be for PG Bokeh 2, which everybody's screaming for. Thanks again, Adrian, for coming on. I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll all get back to normal as soon as this thing subsides, and get back to making movies and so forth. Where are you heading now? Are you just kind of hanging out, taking a break or in the midst of your teaching?
More or less. I mean, I'm still like building lots of stuff right now. I will probably like publish all the tools that never got into like Nukepedia because like they're not like complex enough, I guess, or useful enough. So I'll just compile all of that into a package in GitHub and just make it public. So I'm working on that right now, and I can't wait to do it.
Cool. And you'd be would you like to come back on again for other tools when we get them?
Yeah, that would be really great. Like, I mean, I love this stuff, you know, so I'm really happy to talk about it.
All right, cool. We will check you later, and see you next time. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.